Hello everyone and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Waters. Traditional dancers graced the opening ceremony of Parliament in Maputo, the Mozambican capital. Proceedings were attended by the outgoing president of Mozambique, Jacinto Nyusi, and incoming leader Daniel Chapo. This is in spite of widespread protests in the country, instigated by opposition leader Venancio Mondlane. Complaints have been over high unemployment, low wages and the rising cost of living. Mr. Mondlane returned from self-imposed exile, promising to challenge the results himself. President-elect Chapo's inauguration is scheduled for January 15. The Cyclone Dikeledi, which battered Madagascar's northern region over the weekend, has collapsed a bridge in Ambilobe. Residents were seen clad in life jackets and crossing the river by boats. Cyclone Dikeledi hit Madagascar's northern coast on Saturday evening before weakening into a severe tropical storm. At least 3 people were killed while hundreds were affected due to torrential rains brought by the storm. Local authorities had earlier issued emergency response efforts, including evacuation, food and health supply, as well as financial support for those affected. Officials are advising sailors to refrain from venturing out to sea for the next 2 days. Meanwhile, a red weather alert has been issued for neighboring Mayotte, which is located in the cyclone's path. The South African government has launched a mission to rescue hundreds of miners trapped in an illegal mine where their access is to food, water and medicine was blocked last year in an effort to force them out. The operation began on Friday last week when the sister of one of the miners underground filed a case in court. This came in response to letters from miners, one which claims that at least 109 people have already died at the Buffelfontein gold mine located near Stilfontein, about 100 miles of southwest of Johannesburg. Analysts estimate that approximately 30,000 illegal miners are working in abandoned mines, producing up to 10% of the country's gold output.
It's long overdue. They gamble with the life of our brothers, especially my brother. I didn't have a choice because we've been knocking in many doors, asking and pleading with them that, can you please assist us? The only thing that they could tell us is to smoke them out. They didn't care whether they come out alive. Basically, I will say that if we didn't take action, their plan was to kill them. I'm not happy. I'm not emotionally, I'm not okay because I don't know what to expect today. So I won't take long talking because I'm not in the right state at all because I'm scared, not knowing that what am I going to get, what am I going to see is still alive.
Court will be managing the case, and therefore what it means is that the respondents in the state, the police and of course the mine owners, they are going to be reporting to court about the progress in terms of the process of rescuing these miners. The bloody evidence of their treacherous and I think cruel management of this operation, and in a form of these miners that have died. And I think we must say, even the 109 bodies are merely a tip of an iceberg, because many miners are dying from falling and drowning in the flooded areas of the underground tunnels. Their bodies are not evident, and many of them, their bodies are probably never going to be recovered.
Our South Africa correspondent Innocent Samusa joins us to speak more about this. Innocent joins us virtually from Johannesburg. Hello, Innocent. Give us a sense of the situation at this time.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Joke, and our viewers around the world. Indeed, another devastating story in South Africa. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. We do know now, Joke, that the site was cleared over the weekend, and a mobile rescue window, this is the crane that can reach a depth of around 3,000 meters underground, of the site. Now, that was actually hired by the government in partnership with the Department of Mineral Resources. So the funds to pay that operation, it will come from government and the Department of Mineral Resources. Now, the national spokesperson of the police, that is Atlenda Mate, said that unfortunately the 35 people that were retrieved, 9 corpses were recovered in today's operation, and we do know now that the pathology services had to remove them from the scene. Now, as you rightly indicated in your intro, this comes at the back of the Friday that the High Court ruled on Friday that the government must help rescue illegal miners in Stilfontein. This, of course, comes at the back of that plea that was made by one of the sister of the miners. But today, going back to your question, Joke, what happened today is that we have seen the Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwedeman Dashe, who arrived in Stilfontein to get the latest of on the development on a retrieval operation at the abandoned mine. This, of course, it's the first time him showing face at that particular scene, and it's quite disappointing to say the least, because he's the Minister of Mineral Resources. All of this is happening under his department. So I would have hoped that he had gone there earlier to really assess the situation. But I guess maybe he had delegated people to do that, but it would have been fitting for him to basically, do that at first hand. Okay.
There have been reports of gory scenes of thinly wrapped dead miners being brought out of these abandoned mines. We heard one of the sisters, really beside herself a few minutes ago, saying she's scared. She doesn't know what she's going to see, and I can imagine other family members are just as frightened that their family members are dead. 109, I think, fatality has been reported. What has the situation at the mood been like?
So Joke, what we do know now is that the rescue machinery involves a hoist that can lower the cage into the mine shaft, and then the cage, we're told that it can hold about 6 or 7 people. Now, this, of course, is depending on the size of the weight of the illegal miners. And when they're brought up, all illegal miners are brought to the surface. They are processed to determine their nationality and their immigration status. And once that is done, they are detained in police cells. Now, going back to your question, Joke, there was a bit of tug of war today between the civil society group and the police. So the group was saying that they should start with the dead bodies, retrieve the dead bodies so that they don't decompose, for purposes of identification, so that the family members can be able to identify these people for burial purposes. So the police, said that they'll start with people who are alive for reasons known to them. But I would have, wished that they start with the dead bodies, because it makes sense, so that if they don't decompose, they can still be identifiable. But I can say, Joke, that it is a very, very challenging situation. We're told now that the investigation or this process will take 10 to 16 days. We will, of course, as Channels Television, we'll be making our way to Stilfontein to basically get first-hand experience of what is currently happening there.
Right, and families, some are still hoping that their loved ones are still alive. Over 100 are thought to have died. How many people, as at this time, does the government think that are still alive and needs to be rescued?
Well, they still think that hundreds of people are still down there, trapped, but they're not sure. Hence, right now we're hearing that the police are investigating allegations that, as you said in your intro, alluded to, that the food that was sent down was allegedly limited and kept from these illegal miners. But also there's another investigation that stemmed from a video that emerged from underground. This is of course showing some illegal miners being beaten and some instances being tortured. So these are some of the things that we are seeing here, but it's not confirmed. It's just allegations, and it does seem as though there's still a lot of people who are trapped down there, and the government is also convinced that there's still a lot of people that are trapped there. So what is happening here, Joke, is that there are different shafts. So there's shaft 10 and shaft 11. So in all of these shafts, there are people, and some people have already perished. I would imagine that the conditions there are not habitable, and some, of course, hence when they emerged up to the surface, they look sickly, they look weak, they don't look fine, they look really not well nourished, and you can tell that the conditions down there are quite dire. Joby.
Right, and as you say, the government is working, doing its own bit to get people out. But has the government said anything publicly about this? Perhaps, regularizing these mines, people, or these illegal miners going into business with them. Let's face it, 10% is a lot to be leaking from the gold revenue.
Yeah, indeed, 10%. It's a lot of money, Joker. But I think it has to do with profits. These mines, some of them are still good. These companies, they realize that they're not making money, so they had to abandon the mines. But I think the issue here, like you rightly put, 10% is a lot, and the issue of beneficiation, the issue of small-scale mining. It has been a long-standing issue where we had the mining in Daba. All of these conferences, they've elaborated too that there's a need for government to basically give them small-scale mining. But it does seem as though those meetings were just a talk shop. Nothing concrete came out of that. And again, when you ask the ministers, they will tell you that it's legislation. It takes time to pass laws, but it takes time, and people are perishing because people are looking for employment. People are looking for food, and they're looking for means to make to make a living. So I guess government has to move with speed, and legislation has to move with speed, so that they make sure that they give beneficiation to this small scale mining, so that we don't have situations like this. But I guess the issues around compliance is going to be challenging. But I think the issue here is that government has to start. Okay.
Right, Innocent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, colleague.
In an apparent act of vandalism, a statue of Ghana's former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, has been destroyed. Only a damaged pedestal was left standing, while the rest of the statue was broken to pieces. The bronze statue was unveiled in November and was erected as part of Mr. Akufo-Addo's thank you tour of the Western region in honor of the former president's development initiatives. The statue sparked widespread criticism among locals, with some calling for it to be taken down. Meanwhile, mixed feelings have trailed the destruction among residents of Cyclone Dikeledi, where the incident took place.
The demolition of the ex-president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo statue, it is not good at all as Ghanaians. We have the person who did it should hide his face in shame. We are in a democratic era that if somebody has done something, you need to pass through the due process to undo what he has done. You don't come, hide your face, and come and break the statue. It's not a good thing at all. What I thought when I saw the statue, it wasn't bad and it didn't good, because the area, the road, the hospital, it's not up to date that we need a statue. But what I know is that if there's going to be any statue, the person should do something that has reflected on the lives of the people of Ghana and the world. And maybe the person is deceased that you build a statue for. So my take was that if Akufo-Addo was doing any statue, he should first and foremost do his father's statue and do maybe a Tamil statue before maybe Mahama will come and do his statue. But he has done it. So we don't use two wrongs, don't make a right.
Mali's military government has started seizing gold stocks of the Canadian mining company Barrick as part of a legal battle over the share of revenue owed the West African state. The reason was deduced from an internal Barrick letter from CEO Mark Bristow to the Malian mining minister dated Monday, which said, quote, awaiting official confirmation of the proper receipt by the Malian Solidarity Bank. The seizure follows a warning letter to Mr. Barrick earlier this month from Mali's senior investigating judge Boubacar Diarra. On Monday, senior Barrick manager, who spoke under condition of anonymity, confirmed that 3 tons valued at approximately $180 million had been seized by the military. And over here in Nigeria, the Gombe state government says it's perfecting plans to unlock the state's agricultural potentials by leveraging on the vast water bodies that abound within its shores, one of which is the Balanga Dam. Constructed in 1984, Balanga Dam has the potential to cultivate 11,000 hectares of land in dry season farming and make critical contributions to the overall food security agenda of the federal government, but it has been performing below capacity over the years.
This is Balanga Dam, a gift of nature, beautifully nestled in the majestic mountains of Balanga local government area of Gombe State, Nigeria's northeast region. Its bubbling river, a historic home for fishing, transport and tourism, as its life-giving springs power villages in an all-year-round farming activity, creating thousands of jobs. With natural tributaries forming this dam, structures were built around it and officially commissioned in 1984 to scale up irrigation farming in the area to 11,000 hectares. But with the dam performing below its intended capacity, the Inua Yahya government says it is planning to get more from it.
This dam has the potential to cultivate about 11,000 hectares of land, but less than 2,000 was being utilized, so you can see what I'm talking about. The dam has its own challenges with respect to the canal. The canal is about 15 kilometers, and only 5 kilometers have been concretized. So the remaining 10 kilometers is not. So the flow of water is very slow. And as I'm telling you now, with the effort of His Excellency, the Akisal project this year are going to commence the restoration of the canal. The remaining 10 kilometers that have not been concretized, they will ensure that the concrete has been put there. And what that means is that if it takes like almost a whole day for water to flow from the dam to the command side where the irrigation takes place, now it will just take some couple of few hours. And what that means again, we have more land to cultivate. So I'm very sure in the not long distant future, we'll be able to get to that 11,000 that we've been always saying is on paper.
In 1980s, how someone knew that this kind of...
This is Professor Daniel Uye, a researcher in smart agriculture and a faculty member, Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering, Michigan State University. He believes that Gombe State has what it takes to spark off an agricultural revolution that can feed West Africa.
I can tell you that Gombe is taking all the right, I want to say beyond the right steps. They are not only taking the right steps now, they are taking steps of centuries to come that would make Nigeria have a turnaround. And the good thing is, with His Excellency taking time to visit Michigan State University and meeting with the leadership and other faculty working in different areas, Gombe State would leapfrog with what all the actions I have seen the governor is taking here would not only feed Gombe State, but will have the potential to export food in the nearest future.
Touring Balanga and Dadinkowa dams, irrigation sites, local and modern rice processing plants, and the Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park, Professor Uye lauds the visionary strides of the Noah Yahya government in promoting smart agriculture.
I saw a factory that has a capacity of 450 tons a day. That is a potential to export rice out of Nigeria, not just Gombe State. You know, back in Michigan State, where I come from and where we work, we have the harsh winter, which gives us a room of 3 to 4 months to grow food. But here we can cultivate crop all year round, 12 months. And then with water, if we can cultivate 3 rounds of rice paddy, that can feed that factory of 450 tons a day. And if you do the maths in your head of 450 tons of rice being produced a day, 365 days a year, that is the low-hanging fruit for Gombe State. It will create direct, indirect jobs. It will create revenue from the government from taxes. It would open up a lot of other economic activities and would keep everyone busy in this state.
The people of Balanga seem to be positively aligned with plans of the Noah Yahya administration to modernize the dam.
People of Balanga are very much eager to see the progress of Balanga Dam irrigation, because most of our youths now are running away from our villages. Why? Because they were used to farming in the irrigation time. But now they have taken up to 3 to 4 years no irrigation. All of them were just stagnant. They are not doing anything.
It will generate more than 10,000 youth. It will engage them, this particular dam you are saying. Not only the irrigation they are talking about, but also the fishing activity, the recreational activity that it will generate and will attract. It will engage 10,000. So we are not talking about only people here in Balanga local government.
The Noah Yahya government says it is also exploring partnerships with relevant stakeholders to inject multi-billion-dollar investments into the Balanga Dam.
A prominent Tanzanian activist has been released after being kidnapped by 3 armed men on the streets of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. The human rights defender, Maria Sehai, who is critical of Tanzania's president, was taken into a black van in the Kilimani neighborhood on Sunday afternoon. Her brief detention comes as the governments of both Tanzania and Kenya stand accused of abducting critics. Mrs. Sehai and her husband, David, had sought refuge in Nairobi after fleeing Tanzania. Spokespersons for Tanzania's government and have not made any comment on the issue. Neither has the police spokesperson.
I am sure that the abduction, part of the abduction was to get access to my devices and to get access to the activities that I do online, which include, of course, sometimes doing whistleblowing, but also doing a lot around abductions in Tanzania. So that is the first thing that I really felt that they really wanted. I still believe Kenya is safer in the region than any other. Could it be better? Definitely. I really wish Kenyans and the Kenyan government would understand, for some of us in the region, what it means to be able to have a place where you can a little bit breathe, just a little bit. I'm not asking for much, just a little bit to say that I don't agree with a certain thing. I will not stop, I will not relent, and I will not decrease anything. And in fact, it has given me so much things to be grateful for. As you rightfully said, this could have gone so wrong. There was a point in time when I was convinced that I was about to be taken across, and I knew the minute I crossed, you would never hear from me again. I'll become another poster. So I will never stop, never, ever stop. And if this was done, whether to intimidate me, to really harm me, that will never stop me.
Finally on the program, the 16th edition of the Africa Eco Race has come to an end in a spectacular fashion at the iconic shores of Lahos. After a symbolic final stage along the beach with mass starts in successive waves, competitors were greeted by an enthusiastic crowd celebrating the heroes who braved the desert. This year's competition delivered thrilling action marked by narrow margins between the leaders in several categories until the final stages. Nothing was decided, and the twists and turns kept followers and participants on the edge of their seats. The intensity highlighted not only the technical and physical skills of the drivers, but also their mental endurance. The closing ceremony was filled with moments of deep emotion, with tears of joy and heartfelt embraces. That's our program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Chuck Rogers.